Welcome to your Cyber Daily News update for July 14th, 2026. Today's top cybersecurity stories include a US Treasury sanction targeting a ransomware supporting VPN provider, a critical RabbitMQ vulnerability exposing OAuth secrets, a malware attack shutting down Japan's largest taxi operator, a new macOS Infostealer bypassing security controls, an OAuth client ID spoofing technique targeting cloud environments, charges against 5 individuals running Russian comms fraud platforms, sanctions against FSB-Linked hackers, and attribution of a Russia cyberattack to the Federal Security Service. Let's get into it. First up, the US Treasury Department has announced new sanctions against a VPN provider, its administrator, and a malware service provider accused of enabling ransomware attacks targeting Americans. The Office of Foreign Assets Control, in coordination with the United Kingdom, designated OneVPNs and Dmytro Rashevsky as key infrastructure suppliers for ransomware operators and other cybercriminals. According to OFAC, the targeted services have contributed to attacks resulting in billions of dollars in losses across the United States, affecting businesses, hospitals, financial institutions, and critical infrastructure. Turning to enterprise systems. A newly disclosed RabbitMQ vulnerability has raised serious concerns among users of the widely used open-source message broker. The flaw carries a severity score of 8.7 and stems from an exposed management endpoint that returns a broker's confidential OAuth client secret without requiring authentication. Successful exploitation could enable attackers to impersonate the broker, obtain administrator-level access, and potentially take control of the messaging infrastructure, which is a critical component for many enterprise applications. In breach news, Nihon Kotsu, Japan's largest taxi company by group revenue, disclosed that its internal systems suffered unauthorized external access involving malware infection in the early hours of July 11th. The company immediately shut down its online car hire reservation system, telephone-based taxi dispatch service, and several internal systems as an emergency measure to contain the damage. As a result, these services are currently unavailable, affecting approximately 18,200 employees and an 8,500 vehicle fleet that generates around $1 billion in annual revenue. Staying with malware, Jam-F Threat Labs has identified CrashStealer, a new macOS Infostealer that uses a signed and Apple notarized application to bypass Gatekeeper. The malware, written in native C++, impersonates Apple's built-in crash reporting framework and encrypts everything it collects before sending it out. Unlike commodity macOS stealers, which are typically thin AppleScript wrappers or lightweight Objective-C tools, CrashStealer is a more sophisticated threat that arrives through a disk image called workbit setup and leverages a valid Apple developer ID to evade standard security controls. Next, researchers have discovered a novel OAuth client ID spoofing technique that can be used to create a stealthy path into Microsoft Entra ID and other cloud environments. The attack allows cyber attackers to spoof OAuth client IDs, which are used to authenticate applications and services, potentially bypassing identity and access management controls. This technique represents a significant escalation in cloud security threats because OAuth client IDs are typically treated as trusted identifiers in authentication flows. Turning to criminal justice, 5 UK residents have been charged in relation to supplying Russian comms fraud devices and apps. The individuals are accused of providing the infrastructure and tools used in fraudulent schemes that exploit Russian communication platforms, according to UK law enforcement. The charges highlight ongoing international cooperation in targeting cybercriminal networks that abuse communication services for fraudulent activities. Over in geopolitical cyber operations, the European Union and United Kingdom have announced coordinated sanctions against Russian hackers tied to the Federal Security Service, or FSB. The sanctions target 9 individuals and 4 entities linked to a 15-year cyber espionage and sabotage campaign that has destabilized the EU and its partners. The FSB's 16th Center, which controls a variety of cyber threat groups, has conducted malicious cyber activities against at least 9 countries, including France, Germany, Poland, and other European nations, according to the European Council. Finally, the European Union has imposed new sanctions targeting individuals and entities tied to Russia's Federal Security Service over a long-running cyber espionage and critical infrastructure sabotage campaign that officials say has been operating since 2010. The European Council said the sanctioned actors helped Russia destabilize the EU and its partners, and that the sanctions focus specifically on the FSB's Signals Intelligence Division. This marks a significant escalation in the West's response to Russian cyber operations targeting critical infrastructure and government systems across Europe. That's your briefing for today. The CVE numbers and links to every story are in the show notes below. If this update helped you stay ahead of the threats, do us a favor and subscribe so you never miss a day. You can catch Cyber Daily News on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Stay sharp, patch early, and we'll see you next time.